Discover the incredible, heartwarming secrets of Earth's Hadean Eon. 4.5 billion years revealed. In the heart of Maple Hollow, Clara stood beneath the breathtaking peaks that cradled her hometown. The rocks she studied whispered secrets of ancient times, tales etched in layers of stone. Yet, amidst beauty, her spirit felt like a fragile leaf in the wind, trembling with dreams, yet burdened by doubt. Her neighbors, like the roots of old trees, were deeply grounded in traditions, dismissing her bold ambitions as fanciful nonsense. She spent hours exploring the rugged terrain, her hands tracing the smooth surfaces of 4.5 billion-year-old rocks she had collected, each a testament to the endurance of the earth. Clara felt a kinship with these geological marvels. Here lay the history of survival, resilience through ages of storms, and the unyielding spirit of life clinging to existence. But while the stones sang of hope, the whispers from her community were laced with skepticism. Then, like dark clouds rolling in, a powerful corporation arrived promising short-term gains that sent shivers down Clara's spine. They wanted to bulldoze the mountains she loved, exchanging them for temporary jobs and profit. The thought etched a fissure across her heart. Knowing such actions could erode the very essence of Maple Hollow. The pride of her community felt at risk, crushed beneath the relentless march of progress. Clara's father, a battle-hardened veteran, embodied the town's traditions. His unwavering belief in routine and stability made every interaction heavy, like the weight of boulders. "Get a real job, Clara," he'd say with a sigh, voice thick with concern. His doubts felt like chains around Clara's dreams. Yet as she prepared to present her findings to the town council, Clara's spirit ignited anew. Standing before the influential figures who dismissed her work, she felt the stirrings of defiance rise within her. "These rocks," she proclaimed, clutching them tightly, "are bursts of life. They tell us about endurance. They're not just rocks. They're our strength. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." But the council didn't share her passion. Their laughter hit her like a cold gust of wind. Doubts crept into the hearts of the townsfolk when the corporation threatened layoffs, sowing division among friends. Desperate, Clara gathered them around a fire one night, asking each to share stories of resilience, each tale a lifeline connecting them. The warmth of the fire flickered hope, yet Clara caught her father's steely gaze, his silence as deafening as the crackle of embers. Just then, the tension shattered as corporate representatives stormed in, loaded with legal threats aimed at shattering their unity. Clara faced them, rock in hand, heart pounding, voice trembling with resolve. As their threats loomed over her, a choice hung heavy in the air. Could this be the moment where her community would rise together, or would they crumble under pressure? With her heart racing and the night closing in, Clara stood at the crossroads, between the weight of her father's expectations and the flickering, fragile hope of a united town. Would she find the courage to bridge that gap and protect their beloved land before it was too late? The answer lay just beyond the horizon, waiting to be uncovered. Clara felt the flicker of the fire casting shadows on the uncertain faces around her. It was a fragile moment, fragile like the threads of the stories woven between them. As she gripped the rock, its cold surface brought her back to her mission. She could either let fear take root or allow her spirit to bloom. "Listen," she urged, pulling them closer. "These stones are reminders. Every layer tells a story of strength, of survival against the odds. Just like us." Silence fell heavy over the crowd. Eyes that had once been clouded with doubt now shimmered faintly with understanding. But then the representatives, with their crisp suits and cold gazes, spoke again, eager to dismantle their gathered hope. One man, sharp-featured and smug, stepped forward. "We're not here to discuss rocks. This is about progress and profit. You can't let nostalgia lead you into the past. His words pierced through the warmth they had just built around the fire, chilling Clara's heart. Clara straightened. This isn't about nostalgia. It's about our future. If we let them take this land, we lose our connection to history, to each other. She glanced at her father, searching for a flicker of support in those stern features, but he remained unmoved, his expression unreadable. The crowd stirred, murmurs bubbling up like an unsettled sea. Maybe they have a point, someone whispered. We need jobs. The wind whipped around them, carrying the weight of upward glances and nods. The council seemed to lean into that uncertainty as Clara felt the heat of the fire ebbing, replaced by growing unease. She was losing them. No, Clara exclaimed, her voice rising, raw with desperation. What will those jobs mean if we lose our home? Our stories? Our identity? But reality interrupted. The looming deadlines of corporate contracts began to overshadow their long-standing traditions. Clara's voice trembled again, a mix of passion and fear. Drop by drop, she saw the hope of unity drip from their hearts. Aren't we more than just a town to be exploited? Aren't our roots deeper than temporary gains? The crowd hesitated. For every story of resilience Clara had shared, there came a voice of doubt, echoing like the thud of a heartbeat. It's easier to follow than to fight, whispered that persistent voice of tradition clothed in her father's demeanor. It was in that moment, with uncertainty pulsating through the air like a living thing, that something deep inside Clara surged a fierce determination. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. You taught me, Dad, to stand for what is right, she said, her voice softer now, yet steady. Let us not be the generation that allowed fear to win. If we fight together, we can save our home. We can shape the future while honoring our past. Her words hung around them, shimmering in the shimmering light of the fire. Clara looked from face to face, desperate for a flicker of agreement, a twinkle of courage. What she spotted instead was uncertainty, hovering like a ghost between the shadows of the trees and the flames. Then, like a rush of wind through the mountains, one voice broke free, a younger woman with a spark in her eyes. Let us show them what we're made of. That spark ignited something in the gathering. Clara felt it, the faint stirrings of solidarity, hope rising like the sun breaking through the clouds after a storm. Together, they steeled their resolve, readying themselves to confront the corporation's threats head-on. But even as the flame of defiance grew, Clara sensed a shadow lurking. Her father's unwavering silence was like an anchor holding her back. As the embers danced wildly into the night, Clara stood, heart pounding, knowing that the fight had only begun. Could she unite her community against the looming threat? Would she sway her father in her quest for hope? The stakes had never been higher, and the dawn of a new battle awaited just beyond the horizon. The fire crackled, casting flickering lights and shadows as Clara surveyed the faces before her. What had once been a gathering of hesitant souls was now charged with energy. The voices of doubt began to quiet, replaced by a determination she hadn't seen until now. The young woman's rallying cry echoed in her mind, fueling Clara's resolve. Together we can do this, Clara shouted, her voice rising above the lingering apprehension. Let us meet them head-on and show them that we stand for more than just profit. We stand for our history, our families, our very essence. The crowd shifted, their expressions morphing with each word she spoke. Clara felt a swell of hope. Imagine what we could build. A space where jobs align with our values, where traditions are respected, not destroyed. As she spoke, Clara noticed the worry lines on her father's face deepen. His silence was a weighty thing, heavier than the stones at their feet. With every minute that passed, she felt the gulf between them widen. This tug-of-war between their beliefs wasn't supposed to be. She had always admired his strength, but now it felt isolating. Dad. She turned to him, eyes pleading. Please, can't you see? They're using fear as a weapon against us. We need each other more than ever. I need you. His gaze met hers, deep and searching. For a moment the world around them faded. Clara could feel the weight of the past between them, the countless nights he spent teaching her the importance of standing firm. Yet today his silence spoke volumes. Just as despair threatened to pull her under, the woman from before stepped forward again. Our fathers and mothers fought for this land. Let us honor their legacy by fighting for our future. Her voice cracked but remained steady. Other voices joined in, echoing and growing louder. For our future. For our community. Each word, resonant and fierce, stoked the fire further. Clara felt flames of courage licking at her insides, threatening to consume her fear. Let us rally together. We can host a town hall, invite everyone. We'll share our stories, our struggles, and ignite the fire of hope. Each suggestion poured from Clara, buoyed by the rising tide of enthusiasm. Her father finally spoke, and the crowd hushed. You think it's that easy? They won't listen. They only care about their profits, their deadlines. Yet he didn't sound as resolute as before. There was a tremor in his voice, as if the uncertainty had crept in, seeping through the cracks of his stoic facade. Then we show them. We gather every voice in this town, and we don't stop until they hear us. They can't ignore a chorus. Clara shouted back, her heart thundering in her chest. This isn't just about the stones. It's about everything we are. Our stories, our fights, our future together. Her words hung there, tangible. For a heartbeat, Clara thought she saw a flicker of recognition in her father's eyes, a glimmer of connection that had been absent moments before. Just as a collective breath seemed to draw the crowd together, a rumble of engines filled the air. Clara turned, heart plummeting as headlights swept through the trees, illuminating the gathering like a spotlight on a stage. They're here, she whispered, the reality of their confrontation crashing over her. Clara could see the suits stepping out of shiny vehicles, their faces cold and calculating. The tension thickened like fog, pressing against her chest. But that flicker of courage from before remained, a whisper of unity urging her onward. She had sparked something tonight. Just maybe, it could turn into a flame. They stood at a precipice, and the fight for their home was only beginning. Were they ready to face the corporate giants? Would they find the strength to rise against the tide of uncertainty? The questions lingered in the air, heavy with possibility, as the headlights drew closer. Clara took a determined step forward, ready to confront whatever came next. The headlights sliced through the shadows, illuminating the faces of the newcomers. Clara's heart raced. The suits emerged like phantoms from a dream, their polished shoes crunching over the rocks. They moved with an air of confidence, almost predatory. Clara's blood boiled. She could feel the fear and hesitation of her neighbors tightening in the air around her. But she refused to let it sink her. Stay together, Clara commanded, voice firm. We're more than just a crowd. We're a community. She could see her father shift slightly, unsure but yearning to believe in her words. The fiery glow danced on the faces of those around her, each capturing a flicker of hope in their eyes. One of the suits, a tall man with slicked back hair, stepped forward, hands thrust deep into his pockets. His voice cut through the rising tension. We need to talk. This land is being offered an opportunity for growth, for progress. You must understand that change is necessary. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Clara could see doubt creeping back into her neighbors' faces, but she couldn't let that happen. Every head that turned toward the man felt like a reminder of everything they stood to lose. No, Clara shouted, stepping further into the light to challenge the suit. What you call progress, we call destruction. You might see an opportunity, we see a nightmare. Our history isn't something you can pave over for profit. The man narrowed his eyes but stayed quiet. The fire crackled behind Clara, like the beating of her determined heart. Remember why we're here. A voice rose from the crowd, familiar and steady. Clara turned to find her father. The concern was still in his eyes, but determination had begun to replace it. We aren't against growth, but we demand to be heard. This is our home. A roar of agreement erupted from the crowd, surging like an ocean wave crashing against a rocky shoreline. Clara felt energy course through her, urging her forward. We deserve a chance to voice our concerns, she added, her eyes darting over the assembled crowd. Let us tell them our dreams. what we want for our children, for our lives. We're not just fighting against something. We're fighting for something too. Clara could see people nodding, the light of resolve glimmering in their eyes. Let us gather our stories, shouted one woman, her voice strong and clear. Let us make them understand what this land means to us. Exactly. Clara clapped her hands together, heart pounding with conviction. We can tell them about our fathers and mothers, the struggles and victories. This community, our community, is worth far more than their bottom line. As Clara spoke, she caught her father's gaze again. He was smiling, truly smiling, for the first time that evening. That flicker was becoming a blaze. But the tall suit interjected, voice dripping with condescension. You think rhetoric will change things? We have plans set in motion. You're wasting your breath. Maybe, Clara shot back, refusing to back down. But our voices will echo long after you leave. We exist beyond your profits. At that moment, a crack of thunder rolled in the distance. The skies began to darken, mirroring the heavy tension engulfing them. So what's it going to be? The man asked, crossing his arms. Will you accept our offer? Or will this be a waste of time for all of us? Clara felt her heartbeat slow. The moment stretched before her, uncertain, heavy with possibilities. This was it, fighting for the future, standing for her community. The stakes had never been higher. With a fierce resolve igniting within her, Clara stepped back, ready to lead the charge. We will not bend to fear. This is our land, our fight, our future. The storm clouds loomed overhead, capturing the electric energy of the moment. Clara turned to the crowd. Are we ready to face this together? A unified shout erupted, their voices cascading like pure thunder. But as excitement surged, another vehicle pulled up, drawing Clara's attention. The flash of more headlights, more suits, more decisions to be made. She took a deep breath, heart racing. Anew, what else could they be hiding? Stay close, everyone, Clara whispered, preparing for whatever came next. The new car's headlights spilled into the gathering like an invasive creature, shattering their moment of unity. Clara squinted against the glare, her pulse quickening. Another suit, another set of expectations and demands. The crowd tensed, their cheers dwindling to nervous whispers, uncertainty creeping back into the faces illuminated by the flickering firelight. Keep your voices strong, Clara urged the gathered group. Their earlier confidence wavered but not extinguished. We have no reason to fear them. Not now, not ever. The door of the second vehicle swung open, and a woman in a sharply tailored blazer stepped out. She surveyed the scene with an almost clinical detachment, a clipboard tucked under her arm. Clara's instincts flared. This one looked different, more calculating, more prepared. Who are you? Clara called out, stepping forward as the woman approached. What do you want with us? The woman's lips curved into a slight smirk, exuding an indifference that sent a shiver of unease coursing through the crowd. I'm here to provide you with all the details you need, she said smoothly, eyes scanning the crowd, sizing them up. Consider it an opportunity to explore the possibilities we offer. Opportunities? Clara scoffed. You think we'll fall for the same trick twice? We won't be swayed by pretty words or promises of progress. We have our own vision for this land. The gathering murmured in agreement, emboldened by Clara's unwavering spirit. Yet, Clara couldn't shake the nagging feeling in her gut. These people were prepared. What was on that clipboard? Let us talk facts, the woman continued, raising her voice above the noise. We have investment plans that will revitalize this area. More jobs, enhanced infrastructure, and increased tourism. It's a win-win situation for all involved. Is it a win for us? Clara asked, her tone sharp. Or are you simply looking to profit from our struggles? The woman faced Clara directly, her demeanor shifting between severity and charm. I assure you there's no ulterior motive. But the way she leaned in suggested otherwise, an unspoken challenge wrapped in her words. Clara felt the familiar fire ignite in her belly, a deep-seated need to protect her community rising within her. She glanced at her father, who nodded subtly, reminding her of their shared history. The land belonged to them. It was their narrative that mattered most. "Tell us your plans," Clara commanded, stepping forward, determined not to let the woman's bravado intimidate her. "But no, we will challenge anything that threatens our home. Now, that's the spirit. We wouldn't want to discourage anyone from being involved," the woman said, her mask of calm beginning to crack. The crowd, emboldened, leaned closer, anticipation buzzing in the air. More voices of encouragement broke through, urging Clara forward. "She needs to understand who she's dealing with." One man shouted, "We will fight for our dreams." A crack of lightning illuminated the sky, reflecting the storm brewing overhead. The charged atmosphere matched the gathering tension between the suits and the community, two opposing forces with their own visions colliding. But just as the suited woman began to speak, the ground shook beneath them, reverberating like a warning shot across both factions. Clara clung tightly to resolve. They had to stand united against this looming threat, whatever it might be. "Stay strong, everyone," Clara encouraged, raising her voice. "We're on the edge of something big, something that could bring us together or tear us apart." Suddenly, a low rumble of thunder echoed in the distance, and the air thickened with a sense of impending change. As the woman's confident facade faltered, Clara felt the eyes of her neighbors on her: hope, fear, trust all woven together in a single glance. They were ready for something new. They just needed to unlock the right door. With her heart thundering in her chest, Clara pressed on. "Let us dig deeper. Find out what you're really after." But before she could finish, the ground trembled again, more violently this time. Clara staggered slightly, her instincts screaming to prepare for whatever chaos might come next. Would this be the moment they find their voice, or would it be swallowed by the storm? The rumble of the earth seized the moment, a tremor that reverberated through the air. Clara steadied herself, gripping the edge of a nearby table, her heart racing as she surveyed the crowd. Fear danced in their eyes, but beneath it all, there was courage. They shouldered the weight of generations, their ancestors whispering tales of resilience. Clara felt it, too. Just as the trembling subsided, the suited woman shifted, her clipboard clutched like a shield. "We're here to open doors, not close them," she said, her tone more urgent now. "We're dealing with long-term goals, with the future itself. The storm is just a dramatic flare." "Dramatic flare?" Clara echoed incredulously. "You think we'll let a pretty phrase distract us? What has this ever gained us?" She gestured toward the encroaching storm clouds, the wind picking up, oddly echoing her emotions. The woman's smile faltered, the facade beginning to crack under the pressure. "I understand your hesitation, really, but change is necessary. You can't hold on to the past. It's simply not practical." Clara's grip on the table tightened. "Holding on to our heritage is exactly what makes us practical." She felt the collective heartbeat of the crowd, their energy building as they rallied behind her. "If you think you can just come in here and erase who we are, you're very mistaken." The woman's eyes flickered with annoyance, but Clara pressed on. "We're not just a means to your end. We're people connected to this land, to each other. We won't sacrifice our identity for your so-called opportunities." As her words hung in the air, Clara watched as something shifted in the crowd. Heads nodded, sparks of defiance igniting among them. They weren't about to be silenced again. The realization coursed through Clara a wave of certainty. "Speak your plans," shouted a voice from the crowd, emboldened by Clara's fire. "Let us see your truth laid bare." The tension rose, thick with anticipation. The woman hesitated, glancing nervously at her clipboard as if the answers within were slipping away. Then she squared her shoulders, taking a deep breath as if every word were a battle. "Fine," she said, her voice steadying. "We can bring investment, ecological efforts, even infrastructure that caters to the local community, all while positioning this area for growth in the modern age. The tourism boom would revitalize your economy." "Just imagine." Clara shook her head, cutting her off. "You paint a pretty picture, but what does it mean for our people? Is your idea of revitalization just concrete and dollar signs?" The air crackled with Clara's passion, igniting her community's resolve. Suddenly, a crack of thunder shattered the air, making everyone flinch. The sky opened, rain pouring down like nature's own applause or condemnation, there was no telling which. Yet, Clara felt invigorated. Bringing change can't mean abandoning what we hold dear, she shouted, her voice rising to meet the storm. The suited woman looked wary now, the clipboard slipping as rain soaked the pages. She gathered her thoughts, but Clara couldn't wait. Her father's whispers echoed in her mind. Fight for your home. Fight for your family. Enough talk. Let's decide together how this place thrives. Together, Clara called, her voice slicing through the wind and rain. The crowd roared in agreement, a collective heartbeat pulsing with righteousness. But just as she felt the tide turning, an explosion of light surged from above, illuminating the valley momentarily. The grounded earth beneath them jolted one last time, sending shockwaves rippling through their very souls. Clara staggered and caught herself, her breath hitching, a wild thought sparking in her mind. This is just the beginning, but are they ready to hear us? She pondered, gazing at the stormy sky, a tempest of struggle, hope, and change looming ahead. What would the next step be? Would the ties of their community be enough to weather this storm, or would they spiral into chaos? The rain fell in heavy sheets, drumming against the crowd like a heartbeat pulsing with urgency. Clara glanced around at her friends and neighbors, their faces illuminated not just by the flashes of lightning, but also by a newfound determination. Even soaked to the bone, they stood tall, unified by their shared resolve. She felt the electric vein of their collective hope, resonating deep within her. But the suited woman, despite the storm raging around them, had still not backed down. She straightened her soggy hair, her professional demeanor crumbling under nature's fury. You don't understand. We can't turn back the clock. Times are changing. To what end? Clara replied, her voice steady, breaking through the downpour. What does change mean if it erases our stories? Our families? The very soul of this place? Each word dripped with conviction, echoing against the thunder. She felt the crowd draw closer, forming a protective circle around her. Alternate paths exist, the woman retorted, desperation creeping into her tone. Paths that could enrich your lives, but you're choosing to stay stuck. You don't get to choose for us, shouted a man from the back, his fire igniting a reaction. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, stirring a chorus of dissent that swelled in cadence, drowning out the objections from the suited woman. Clara's heart raced. This collective outcry was more than just defiance. It was a powerful declaration of identity, of belonging. We are not just a stop on your highway to progress, she encouraged, her voice rising above the storm. Please, let us talk about what this change looks like together. The woman's mouth opened as if to respond, but it was drowned out by a crack of thunder so close it felt as if the sky itself had split in two. Clara jumped at the sound, but it prompted something deep within her. If they could rise to face their fears as a community, maybe they could find a way forward, together. The rain mingled with tears streaming down Clara's cheeks, feelings of hope and fear coalescing into an overwhelming surge of emotion. She blinked away the droplets, willing them to manifest as strength. What if we don't focus on what's being taken from us? What if, instead, we figure out how to work alongside these changes, without losing everything we cherish? The crowd responded, a unified ripple of agreement passing through them once more. Convinced now, people began shouting suggestions, ideas transforming amidst the rain-fueled intensity. It was chaotic but beautiful, a whirlwind of voices setting a foundation on which they could build. Seeing the spirit ignited in each person, Clara felt a warmth taking root in her chest. The storm outside became a mere backdrop to the fierce light blossoming within the group. Just then, a figure slipped through the crowd, cutting towards the suited woman. Clara squinted through the torrents, recognizing the outline as Marcus, her childhood friend and a local engineer. A flash of lightning illuminated his determined expression as he confronts the woman. Let us talk about infrastructure that not only modernizes but also honors our way of life, he proposed, his voice loud and clear amid the chaos. We can create a village that embraces growth while celebrating our heritage. As Clara watched, she sensed the tide turning. The future didn't need to be a battle against the change but rather a collaboration with it. Maybe they could mold the development into something that served them all. But then, the most unexpected sound echoed, an ominous rumble, deeper this time. Clara turned just as the earth trembled again beneath their feet. It felt different, charged with an energy she couldn't quite understand. Is this just a storm? Or is it a warning? Clara's insides twisted with foreboding. In that moment, a new challenge loomed, one that could shake the very foundation of their fight. Would they become a united force against a threat beyond their own control, or would fear fracture them apart? With her heart racing and eyes fixed on the horizon, Clara prepared to confront whatever lay ahead. But what kind of storm was brewing beyond the rain? Would they all weather it together? The group fell into a tense silence, a collective breath held as the ground trembled beneath them. Clara could feel the vibrations like a drum, steady and resonant, echoing the calls of her heart. Unsure of what was happening, she glanced sideways at Marcus. His brow furrowed with concern, but his eyes burned brightly with determination. I think we need to move, he urged, his voice strong against the storm. If this is more than just weather, we can't ignore it. Clara nodded, her resolve hardening. You're right. We stand our ground, but we also stay alert. She turned toward the crowd, their faces illuminated intermittently by flashes of lightning. Everyone, let South stay close. We need to protect one another. But just as she was about to direct them into a tighter formation, the suited woman spoke up again, her voice quaking from the weather's onslaught. You think you can just stand here? This storm is nothing compared to what's coming. You need to prepare yourselves for real change. The crowd shifted uneasily, uncertainty creeping in. Clara could see fear flickering in some eyes, a crack in their unity. What do you mean by real change? Clara pressed, crossing her arms defiantly. The woman stepped closer, water streaming down her face, almost like tears mixed with rain. I mean the reality of urbanization. If you don't adapt, you will be left behind. A murmur of anger rose and fell among the crowd. Clara felt the familiar fire inside, burning away the doubts. We are not being left behind, she shouted, passion spilling from her lips. This is our home. Let us show the new paths that honor our roots. But before anyone could respond, another tremor rocked the ground, stronger this time as if the earth itself was expressing discontent. People stumbled, some fell to their knees. Clara gasped, reaching out for Marcus, who caught her in a firm grip. Stay together, he urged as the rain poured heavier, and the wind howled like a warning siren. Clara looked to the horizon, where dark clouds swirled with a menacing intensity, swirling ominously like a vortex threatening to consume them all. A voice from the back called out, "What if it's a warning? What do we do?" Clara took a deep breath, focusing on the fear in others' eyes. There was panic, and she knew they needed more than just words now. We prepare ourselves. If this community can't weather a storm together, how will we face whatever else comes our way? Let us show our strength. More people rose to their feet, embroiled in the urgency to act. The murmurs of agreement cycled back to shouts of encouragement. Under the relentless rain, Clara gave the crowd clear directions as they formed a barricade against the tempest. Gather what you can. Find safe shelter. Check on the elderly and children. Let us make sure we all stay connected and support each other. As the crowd moved with newfound purpose, Clara felt the tremors shifting from fear to determination. They were no longer individuals but an entity, linked by a single heartbeat under the storm. But just as they began to seek shelter, the brightness of the lightning flickered erratically, revealing something that made her blood run cold. A gash in the earth opened near the edge of the square, jagged and menacing, swallowing up debris with a force that was terrifying. "Clara, look," Marcus shouted, pulling her from her thoughts. The realization hit hard. This was only the beginning. They would need much more than courage to face not only the storm but what was being awakened beneath their feet. As the roar of wind howled, Clara felt a shiver run down her spine. What lay ahead was beyond mere nature's wrath. It was a call to arms, a test of everything they had fought for. And in that moment, as the earth rumbled beneath them, Clara understood. She was about to discover the true meaning of resilience. Would this storm unearth their greatest fears or light the path to their unwavering strength? The fate of their community hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of an unseen brink. Clara's heart raced as she stared at the yawning gash in the ground. Panic pulsed in the air like a living thing, and she could almost taste it. Around her, people were exchanging frantic glances, torn between the instinct to flee and the urge to stand their ground. The oppressive sound of the wind drowned out their whispers, but she could see their lips moving, could sense the fear that gripped them all. "Focus," Clara shouted, her voice rising above the roar. "We need to stay calm. Fear will only divide us." She felt the weight of every eye on her, the heavy expectation that she would lead them through this chaos. Marcus stepped closer, his face set in resolve. "We can't ignore the fissure. Could get worse." He pointed, urgency adding light to his words. "What's happening beneath us isn't just a storm. We have to check it out." Clara squinted at the dark opening, the edges jagged like sharpened teeth. "And what if it swallows us whole?" "Then we face it together," he replied fiercely, his grip around her hand tightening. "But we're not going to let fear take control." A wave of courage passed through her at his words. She turned to the crowd, who were now moving restlessly, heads nodding at Marcus' conviction. The storm raged above, but the rumbles below seemed to whisper a challenge they couldn't ignore. "All right, who's with us?" Clara called, raising her own determined fist. A mix of uncertain yet eager shouts erupted from the group. "Let us do this," cried out someone from the back, emboldening others. Clara led the way, heart hammering as they approached the crack. Rain soaked their clothes, but the rush of collective adrenaline kept them warm. Marcus stayed close to her side, offering reassurance with a steady presence as they reached the fissure. Clara bit her lip, trying to mask her fear with resolve. "We need to assess how deep it goes. Keep your distance, but let us get a better look." The crowd fanned out, some crouching low, trying to peer into the shadows of the earth. Clara leaned forward, her heart racing anew as she saw sparks flickering from within. Was it fire? The thought terrified her. "Clara," an elderly man shouted from the back. "Do you see that?" His finger trembled as he pointed into the darkness. Slowly, another flash illuminated what appeared to be strange, glowing rocks nestled deep within the earth's wound. "I believe it's magma?" Clara's voice barely managed to emerge. It felt unreal, as if the ground itself were alive and signaling them. A primal message carried down through eons to reach this very moment. People gasped, awe mixed with dread reflecting in their features. Clara stepped back, equal parts mesmerized and alarmed. "What are we dealing with?" Someone whispered. "Are we standing over a volcano?" The suited woman pushed her way through the crowd, now soaked but fierce. "This is what I meant by change. Nature is telling us to adapt. Will we listen? Adapt?" Marcus scoffed. "By ignoring what's right beneath our feet? We can't just pretend this isn't happening." But her words sparked a fire in the crowd. Clara could sense a shift, the mix of fear evolving into fervor. This was the moment they all needed, a turning point. "We can't fight nature. We must understand it," Clara shouted passionately, her voice ringing through the chaos. "Let us gather information. Find out what this means for us and for our future." Heads nodded, energy building like waves crashing upon a shore ready to rise. But beneath the surface tremors, a throaty rumble echoed back at them. The earth seemed to shudder, and Clara felt a chill seep through her. What if it decides to erupt? Someone gasped, and another outcry followed. "Then we prepare." Clara pushed forward, heart racing. "We anchor ourselves with knowledge." As the ground quaked beneath them again, Clara sensed something shifting in the atmosphere, not just from nature but from the very essence of their community. They were no longer just individuals. They were a network of hope bound together by uncertainty. Yet, deep down, Clara realized they were unearthing more than rocks. With every tremor, they were uncovering the very fabric of their resilience, the heart of what it meant to be a community. But as the air grew thick with anticipation, one question echoed louder than before. What else would this storm reveal, and at what cost? As the crack seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, Clara steeled herself for whatever was to come. The looming shadows ahead were dark, but in that moment, the flickering glow within the earth called to her a siren song promising answers yet to be discovered. The storm raged on, a chorus of roars vibrating the air. Clara stood firm, flanked by her community, hearts beating as one. They were straddling a precipice, caught in the churning forces of nature and corporate greed, and finally ready to confront it all head-on. Gather around, Clara called, her voice resolute. Let us form a plan. We need to figure out what this all means and how we can protect our home. She gestured toward the shimmering fissure, that glowing reminder of Earth's raw power. We must learn from it, work with it, not against it. Around her, the faces of friends and neighbors hardened into expressions of purpose. They were no longer frightened victims but determined warriors standing at the gates of their future. Let us reach out to scientists. Identify what we're dealing with, Marcus declared, his eyes now sparking with discovery. The crowd buzzed, digestion of the idea settling in, acceptance swimming through the ranks. Clara felt the murmur ripple through the gathering. And what if we turn this into something positive? She suggested, momentarily ignoring the anxiety swirling within her. A way to show them that we can adapt. A woman from the back chimed in. Yes, we can host a community forum, invite the scientists and share everything we learn together. The enthusiasm built, fueling Clara's belief. The suited woman, normally so cocky, seemed squeezed into the background as people reminded themselves that they had power, that they could usher in a new era of coexistence rather than mere exploitation. It was the essence of their hometown change through understanding and unity. Let us make it a festival. Someone laughed, breaking the tension. A celebration of our roots, of our history. We'll show them how much this place means to us. Laughter erupted, laughter edged with authenticity, and Clara joined in, letting the bubbling joy mend the earlier fears. It was these moments, the unity of spirit, the resilience of the community that formed genuine strength. And in that atmosphere, Clara finally spotted her father's smile, wide and warm, his stoic mask peeling away. Her heart surged. Together, he said, stepping forward and feeling the weight of the crowd, his voice steadier than the rumbling earth beneath them. Together, we can face whatever the future holds. Clara's heart soared as she stepped to his side. Let us communicate with anyone who can help us learn. We'll gather facts, share stories, and inspire change. The crowd exploded into encouraging cheers. She could see the doubts lift from her neighbors' faces, morphing into the fierce light of hope. Yet within that flicker of unity, Clara's gaze drifted back to the gash in the earth. The glowing stones pulsed, like inner hearts thrumming with energy. She realized, however threatening the fissure felt, it was also a reminder of their shared history. Deep down, they carried the legacy of countless generations before them. Let us honor our ancestors while shaping our tomorrow, Clara called, her voice cutting through the renewed noise. We're summoning the spirit of resilience. Each one of us belongs here. This land deserves our fight, and we'll ensure that the fight is not in vain. The roar of agreement rose, a wave crashing through and filling Clara with a quaking thrill. Let us bring in experts. We'll find out the geological significance, the environmental impacts, and learn how we can move forward, Marcus added, capturing everyone's thoughts. As they brainstormed logistics, silence washed over them for a moment as all washed through the crowd. The storm had begun to relent, the rain easing into a gentle drizzle, like a softened embrace after chaos. Look, someone gasped, pointing towards the horizon. Clara turned just in time to see the sun breaking through the lingering clouds, golden beams spilling forth across the valley, bathing them in warmth and light. Hope, Clara whispered, her spirit igniting. Felt like a promise from above. This is the dawn of something beautiful. Wrapped in their newfound strength, they began crafting proactive solutions, connecting with ecologists and engineers who would see the land not as a commodity, but as a canvas. They envisioned where businesses could thrive, rooted in respect and reverence for history, while priorities fused with nature and community. Just as Clara believed this triumph would emerge in the future, she also understood that it was every heartfelt story that had brought them to this moment. But they weren't finished yet. There were still battles ahead. The corporation would not back down easily. Yet, now they stood on solid ground, anchored by the pulse of the earth, the unshakable bond of community lighting their resolve. They were ready to face what lay, undaunted. As Clara finally knew they could weather the storm, and as the sun ascended further, illuminating the faces of her community, Clara felt that everything was coalescing. A future filled with promise was within reach. It rested in their unity, their bravery, and their undying spirit. They were Maple Hollow, and together, they were invincible. Feeling the weight lift off her shoulders, Clara turned to face the crowd once more. "We are only beginning, my friends. Stand tall, prepare for a shift, and remember, through every trial, we will not waver." Each shout, each rallying cry rang in her heart, a chorus of defiance and hope that would echo into the future of Maple Hollow, a testament to a community reborn. Now, will you stand with them? Are you ready to fight for what matters? You need to subscribe immediately to this channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your thoughts, your feelings about how this incredible journey ends. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You must show your support, and remember, only true fans understand the importance of taking action.